Hello, and thank you for joining me. Today, we're returning to Fallout 76 for another round of legendary crafting. And today, we're going to be crafting up some alien disruptors. I've been grinding the Alien Invaders event like crazy, and I was fortunate enough to actually get the plan for the alien disruptor, or disintegrator, sorry. So let's go on ahead and see what we can get with it. I've crafted up 10 of them. I'm hoping to get something decent that we can try out in a weapon spotlight, something that'll at least be interesting. So let's see what we get. And in case you're not aware, the Alien Disintegrator here is actually a new weapon that was added with the update on March 1st. So here we go. And here we've got a Furious with plus 25% damage while aiming and 15% faster reload. So I am not a fan of the Furious effect. This weapon does have a fast enough fire rate if you put the automatic mod on it, which I do actually have the automatic receiver plan. I was lucky enough to get that one as well as the high-powered receiver plan. There's still two others I don't have yet, but I'll keep grinding to get those. But anyway, it does have a fast enough fire rate that when you put the automatic mod on there that you can get some benefit out of the Furious effect, but I would prefer something with a faster fire rate. So the second and third stars are very good, although I would probably use this weapon mostly in VATS, so this is not really the ideal version for me, so let's go on ahead and craft up another one here. Okay, this one's not particularly exciting. It's a Mutant Slayers with bashing damage increased by 50% and breaking 50% slower. So the Mutant Slayers effect is a good effect because there are plenty of times in the game where you will be fighting super mutants, and you know you will, especially if you're just going to be grinding West Tech or similar places for some experience. But it's really not my ideal first star. I'm really hoping to get something like Bloodied, Anti-Armor, Quad, something along those lines. So Mutant Slayers is a bit disappointing there. Bashing damage increased by 50% is very disappointing on this weapon. The bashing damage increased by 50% is really only good on the minigun, and that's only if you're going to be using the Shredder mod on it and using it as a melee weapon. If you do that, then on that particular weapon it's very good, but this is not a minigun, so yeah. Breaking 50% slower, it's not my ideal third star, but it's not a bad third star by any means, because I don't think anybody really enjoys repairing their weapons, so having it break 50% slower is not a bad thing, but overall this one is not what I'm looking for, so let's give it another try here. Okay, this one is a little more interesting. Still not really what I'm looking for, but the Executioner's effect is an Executioner's 25% damage while aiming plus 1 agility. So the Executioner's effect is very powerful in the right situation because unlike the other legendary effects, it is actually still multiplicative, meaning that it's plus 50% of the damage that you see on your damage card even after you've applied perks and chems and mutations and whatever you're going to use that increases your damage output. So that's very powerful, with the major drawback being that it does absolutely nothing until the target is below 40% health. So that means that for the most part it's going to be good against enemies that you're going to have to use more than 3 or 4 rounds to put down. So typically your bigger enemies, behemoths, Mirelurk queens, also the endgame bosses, you know, the Scorchbeast queen, Earl, and so on. So it's a good effect, not my favorite, but not bad. The 25% damage while aiming bonus is, again, very good, but once again, I would normally use this weapon in VATS, so while that is a good effect, not really what I'm looking for. And plus 1 agility, it's not bad, but it's such a low bonus that it feels kind of negligible, especially if you are a bloodied build like I am with the unyielding gear where you're getting plus 15 to your agility. That plus 1 just kind of doesn't do a whole lot. It does give you a little bit more AP, a little bit more stealth, but overall, not really what I'm looking for here, so let's try the next one. Okay, and this one is not very good either. We've got a Gourmands with the last round in the magazine having 25% chance to deal double damage and breaking 50% slower. So I'm not a fan of the Gourmands effect just because basically it's only a 24% bonus, and that's if you have both your hunger and your thirst meters full. So that's already not particularly high. You know, the difference between 24 and 25% I don't really care about, but the difference between 24% and 50% from aristocrats or junkies or whatever, that I care about a lot more. And beyond that, no matter how diligent you are with keeping your hunger and thirst meters full, they are going to deplete, which is going to deplete your bonus damage from that effect. Sure, you can, use perfect bubblegum to avoid that, but you're going to have to basically run perfect bubblegum all the time if you want to avoid that completely, or basically just be spamming food and drinks all the time. So, yeah, I'm not really a fan of the Gourmand's effect, at least not on weapons. The last round of the magazine having 25% chance to deal double damage, I feel like is like not having a second legendary effect at all on the weapon. Especially on a weapon like this, I haven't really toyed around with the non-automatic version, but I put an automatic receiver on one last night after I got the plan for it and just took it out for a quick spin, and I discovered that the capacity for the automatic version is 40. That's actually pretty high when you consider that the capacity for, at least standard capacity for like the handmade or the fixer for the automatic versions is only 20. So that's a good thing, but that also means that the last round of magazine having 25% chance to deal double damage is even worse on this weapon. So, not a fan of that at all. Breaking 50% slower, I like it well enough, but definitely not the 3rd star I want. If it was better 1st and 2nd stars, I'd be a little more excited, but overall, this one is not what I'm looking for. So let's try it again here. Okay, well this one's at least kind of mediocre. The mutants, we've got a mutants with replenishing action points with each kill and faster movement speed while aiming. So the mutants effect, it gives you plus 5% damage per mutation up to a maximum of 5 mutations for 25% total damage bonus. That's not bad. It's a little bit like, it's quite a bit lower than aristocrats or junkies, for example. So I don't really like it because of that. But at the same time, you're not really giving up much of anything because I feel like most players by endgame will have 5 mutations by the time you have Speed Demon, Marsupial, either herbivore or carnivore, whichever you prefer, and a couple of other mutations that suit your particular build well. So I don't feel like you're really giving up anything for that damage. So that's a nice thing. And the replenishing action points with each kill, that's a good effect, especially for someone like me who uses VATS heavily. So it would keep me churning through enemies in VATS, being able to target those weak points and get those crits. So I like that. The faster movement speed while aiming is probably the weakest effect on this weapon, and if you've seen any of my videos before, then you know that I'm not a fan of it, mainly because if you've got the Speed Demon mutation, it's not really going to be doing anything for you at all. And even if you don't have the Speed Demon mutation, you really have to be running around the battlefield aiming a lot to get much of anything out of it, and I don't think a lot of players are doing that. So I know for a fact I'm not. So anyway, definitely not what I'm looking for. We've got a few more tries here. Let's keep going. And this one would be much better if it had a better 1st star. We have exterminators with plus 50% VATS hit chance and 90% reduced weight. So the exterminator's effect is not exciting because I don't do a whole lot of hunting of mirelurks or bugs, and I'm guessing you probably don't either. You may be going after a queen now and then for the daily meat to take over to Ohio River Adventures to keep your rep grind with Crater going well, but aside from that, you're probably not doing a whole lot of hunting of those things, and it's probably not worth keeping a weapon around specifically for that. Although, with the 90% reduced weight and the fact that there's not a lot of mods you can put on this particular weapon, this is the kind of weapon that you could keep around for that if you were so inclined. The plus 50% VATS hit chance That is very good. I'd love to see that effect on a weapon, on one of these with a better first star. You know, quad, bloodied, anti-armor, any of those with VATS hit chance would thrill me. Unfortunately, the Exterminator's effect kind of makes this one a bit of a dud. Again, the 90% reduced weight is good because it's the kind of weapon that you could use for, you know, keep around for Mirelurks and bugs, but I probably won't. So let's go on ahead and keep going here. Hopefully we'll get something good. Come on, RNG gods. And we got almost a complete set, the same version of one we got before, the Gourmands, with the only difference being the last star is plus 250 damage resistance while reloading. So, not a fan of this one for the same reasons. The third star is really not much better. The 250 damage resistance while reloading bonus is not terrible. It does protect you at a time when you are a bit vulnerable, you know, when you're reloading your weapon and not able to shoot back. So that's a benefit. Although, once again, you know, if you've got your armor up in the range of 300 to 400 damage resistance, then you're going to see some significantly diminishing returns from that effect. So, overall, not a good one here. Still not what I'm looking for. We've got 3 more tries. Come on, let's get something good here. Just at least something that would be interesting for a weapon spotlight. Come on. Okay, I could work with this one if nothing better comes along. We've got an Instigating with 25% faster fire rate and 50 damage resistance while aiming. So, the Instigating effect is a bit of a lie. It doesn't do what it says on the box. It's double the base damage of the weapon, which makes it not particularly exciting on low damage weapons, but does alright on high base damage weapons. This weapon's kind of mediocre in that regard, but it's at least a half decent first star for this weapon. The second star, 25% faster fire rate, is exactly the kind of second star that I want on this weapon, because I generally prefer commando builds, so I'll typically put the fully automatic receiver on this one, and it'll fire even faster for me. One thing to be aware of is that with the Instigating effect, especially with a little bit faster fire rate from the second star, there will be times when, primarily due to lag and things like that, when the effect will do the extra damage even after the target has been hit a time or two, before it actually wears off. That's basically just a lag thing, but it does happen. Not something that I am looking to exploit by any means, but something to be aware of that it does happen. And then the 50 damage resistance while aiming, you know, I probably won't get a whole lot out of that. This is the kind of weapon I would use in VATS, but if I do decide to, you know, free aim it for whatever reason, then I could see some benefit. But overall, at least the first 2 stars are half decent, so I've got something I can do a spotlight with if nothing better comes along. So we still have 2 more tries. Let's see what we get. Okay, well, this one is not as good. We've got the Instigating effect, which, again, could be decent on this weapon, but I think it's better on the other one. Although, if you were going to use the weapon as in the semi-automatic version with the powerful receiver instead, or the hardened or whatever they call it, I forget, as opposed to the automatic receiver, then this one might actually be better because of the third star being able to get you some extra crits, and the limb damage wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but probably not really going to make or break this weapon one way or the other. So, you know, I might keep this one around just to do some playing around with the semi-automatic version. I am curious to see how it performs, because if you look at the damage from the high-powered receiver, it's 155. That's very respectable. So I'm kind of curious to see how that does. But anyway, let's go on ahead and craft up the last one here and see what we get. Okay, we got the worst one that we've gotten today so far. So we've got a Stalkers with replenishing action points with each kill and plus 50 damage resistance while aiming. So the Stalkers effect is, in my opinion, the worst first star, at least for ranged weapons in the game at this point. Because it basically, it does not do the benefit. You're not guaranteed to hit your VATS shots. when you're not in combat. You will most of the time, probably, but there's definitely times when you won't. So that's not 100%. And yet, you do have to pay the extra AP cost for the weapon, so you get the drawback. So, yeah, I'd rather just have a non-legendary version than have that first star. The replenishing action points with each kill, that could be good, but not with that first star. And then the 50 damage resistance while aiming, not particularly exciting, especially not with that first star. So, you know what? I think I am going to go ahead and redo this one just one more time. I'm trying to keep a hold of a few legendary modules for some more Secret Service armor coming up soon, but let's go ahead and do one more. Okay, well, it didn't really pay off. We got Hunter's Alien, we know it's an Alien Disintegrator, replenishing action points with each kill and faster movement speed while aiming. So, the Hunter's effect is definitely one of the least useful of the Slayer's effects, just because there's not really a lot of times that you're going to be going out and actively hunting animals. You know, yeah, you get the occasional score challenge to go kill a Deathclaw or whatever, but it's not really worth keeping a weapon around for that specifically, in my opinion. So the second star is good, replenishing action points with each kill, and then the faster movement speed while aiming doesn't really do much if you have the speed demon mutation, and even if you don't, it's probably still not doing a whole lot. So overall, we did get a couple of interesting ones. I did get something that I can at least have some fun with for a Weapon Spotlight video, so it's not a total bust here. So be looking for that video coming soon, probably next week sometime. But remember, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and it doesn't cost you any money. And until next time, thank you for watching.